What's up, my fellow parents? Hey, how to be a calm, loving, connected parent. Those are beautiful words. Those are words that we all aspire to be. We all want to be that parent. When you think about the greatest parents that we can imagine, the parent we envision ourselves being, those are three words that hopefully come to mind for you. This is really good stuff we're going to share today. Very deep. I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready to buckle in and open your mind because this is a very important topic, Jordan.
Oh my gosh. And the real question is it possible? Can we become a calm, loving parent and present, right? Because, we all want that. And if you were to think back to all the people in your world, is there anyone that can be at the top of that title? Right?
Oh, yeah.
That's a hard title to get to.
Yeah,
and we all want to be there.
Well said. Yeah, that's really.
I hope we can all get there.
Yeah, that's really. I like how you took it there because you could say, I think there'd be a lot of parents be like, no, that's impossible. Those are just too far. It's too hard. You don't know my kids.
They're too much, right?
You don't know my house. How it's impossible for me to be. Maybe I can be loving and connected, but I sure can't be calm, right? Or I can be calm, but I can't be connected. I gotta, So
that's right.
We're gonna do some really good storytelling. I'm gonna give you some great tips, some tools today, and we're gonna just take you on this adventure. So let Jordan and I take you by the hand right now, and let your imagination wander as we go into this beautiful place of parenting and healing and growth and maturity as we as you lead your families, allow us to lead you today into good things. And I'm ready to be a leader right now and to have a podcast and go on this adventure into the past and into the present.
I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. I like how I phrase that.
I do too. This journey's going to be fun. And, just to be clear, I wouldn't say that I'm that person. Right? Just when I look at it, I'm like, I have so much. No, I know. But what I'm saying is from an inside, like what I view myself as I'm striving to be that person. Now, from the outside, you can say, well, you are. And in my mind, I'm like, well, no, I could do so much better in the loving aspect. And, now I really need to connect. And I think that's what's cool about it is because you have these three categories and you might be an expert at one and not the other. So you can constantly strive to adapt to each one of those.
You know what? That's me. I think I can really grow in being more loving. I definitely can be more connected. Like sometimes I've heard somebody say years ago, before I had teenagers, one of the best ways to love your teenagers, stay up late with them. And it's hard for me. I don't want to stay up late.
You're
Sometimes
I'm tired.
I hear my teenagers talking to their room with my wife, and I'm just half asleep, and I'm I'm missing out. Right?
I know.
Yeah. So
me waking up early in the mornings, I miss out on those evenings too. The bedtime where they get to sit and just chat about life. I'm like, man, I wish I had that. But it's hard to have everything. So appreciate what you have, and I've got a great job, and I got to wake up early, and that means I got to go to bed early. But I do miss those moments.
So here's what I developed for everyone here today on this podcast is, I asked myself, okay, how can I help you, the person listening to this, become this person? And I developed three things that I want to share, and these are very deep things. I think you may not have even thought about some of these things before. If you've listened to this show before, you probably have thought about it. But this is the three things I developed, Jordan, are really under the surface type things, about how to get deep change in your mind, in your parenting. I think there's one of the big problems with parenting books and parenting experts is they just tell people well, don't yell at your kids or say this to your kids. But that's not easy to do when you have all this internal life, this internal emotions, when you're freaking triggered out of your mind, right? It's not easy to do.
Yeah.
And so what I like to do today, especially, and even just on this podcast, is to take a shovel and to go deep, to help you look inside yourself and peel away the layers of how you think about parenting, how you think about yourself, how you think about this child or your teenager, your spouse, even these deep things. And I think that's where a lot of growth and change happens.
Yeah, because I mean, anybody can be out there and do their best to like keep a kid alive, right? Like that's ground zero. Like, okay, you're a parent, you keep them alive. You feed them, you make sure they get enough water,
Yeah.
and they go to
Yeah.
sleep, and you send
You're
them off to
right.
school. And hopefully,
Yeah.
society will raise them
Right.
to be a good person. If you're just
Keep
like, if
'em
that's
alive.
ground zero, you're keeping them
Gosh.
alive, okay? But then, as we go through this parenting journey, we're like, no, we want to
Oh
go
my gosh.
deeper. We want to be better. We want to be the cool parent, the loving parent. We want them to enjoy coming back to us. So we really have to dig deep with that shovel and look within, just like anything else. You know, you want to be good at your job, you got to
Yeah.
do better. You got to look at what you're doing and see what the problems are and work on it. And I don't think a lot of us do that with parenting. I think it's like, oh yeah, I'm fine. It's second nature. But I think more of us need
Yeah.
to reflect.
Okay. I'm still laughing at that. What
Okay.
you said. I was laughing. Oh,
I know you are.
laughing over you as you were talking. I'm like trying to think about something deeper when I'm going to say. And you're like, yeah, like the basic is this: keep them alive. But let's go deeper than keep them alive.
I mean, that's
It's so good.
like, let's go.
It's
yeah.
so good. That's so true. That's what you. Yeah. That's so everything. Okay. All right. Here's number one. All right. Number one. Here we go. Let's go on a journey. All right. How to become a calm, loving, connected parent. Ready? Here's what you got to do. You got to do the inner work. You do the inner work so your past is not your parenting present. That's number one. If you're a young parent
Okay.
and you want to be a great
Yeah.
parent, here's what I want you to think about. I want you to do the inner work so that your past is not your parenting present. If you're a parent of teenagers and you're really struggling with your reactions, you're yelling, you're just triggered, you're a hot mess, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do the inner work so that your past is not your parenting present. When you hear that, what comes up for you? I'm going to take you
Well,
on
I'm
a
just
journey
thinking if
with
you're a
this,
young
too.
parent, you're going to be looking at maybe your parents. And so what you're saying is your past doesn't necessarily reflect how you become a parent. So you can look at that, but not say like, oh, my parents did this, so I have to do this. If you're an older parent, you know, you can be like, okay, I used to be, or I have been a yeller or a punisher, physical punishment. I ground them all the time for their longest time. But I don't have to do that. I can change my ways no matter what stage of parenting I'm in. Maybe you're a grandparent, you know, and you can kind of change the ways that you're still looking at your kids or your kids' kids.
Yes.
So I think, you know,
Okay,
using
good.
that past is smart.
Yeah. Okay, so oftentimes when you're kind of new at this type of work, this inner work, this mindfulness, oftentimes, Jordan, people have a hard time answering a question like this. You know, tell me about how your past has impacted your parenting present. Many people have a hard time answering that. But I'm going to tell you some stories here to help you look into the prequels of your life to see how your prequels have affected your movie, your present movie, and then so that you can make sure that your sequel is really more beautiful and healed than anything. So
Okay.
you might think I'm changing the subject, but I don't think I am. This is still on the same topic. When you hear me say this term, what comes up for you? We all want control. What do you think of? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts of? We all want control.
Yeah. I mean, I think in some aspects other than, you know, than others, like it's like
Okay.
I want the house clean. It's not like I'm trying to control someone to clean the house, but I would like a clean place to live.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you could
Good
say,
example.
well, that's a little controlling. Like, why don't you just allow chaos?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to go to bed on time because I
Yeah.
know you need the
Good.
sleep to get
Love
you
it.
stronger and healthier. Well, are you
Yep.
controlling me to put me to bed at 9 o'clock every night? Like, why are you? So I think that's
Yeah.
what you mean is like these little
Yeah, I
things,
do.
these like a routine. You could say a routine is
Yeah.
controlling.
It sure is. Yep. We all want control. You just went on an epic fishing trip to Florida with some friends and you had a great time. And you were able to control your own life because you got the green light from your wife to go and no one was controlling you. You got to do that and live your life. And that felt good, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying I enjoyed the control in that moment because I got to go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying
So
it's
the
almost
balance
like
of
a hot
control
take.
shifts. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a hot
Yeah.
take because we don't. Here's what I found is that there are some people that are very open and like with saying, I'm a control freak. I like being in control. But what I'm
Right.
trying to do with this hot
Right.
take is saying like whether you may not realize it or not, but we all want control. Allow me to try to convince you and to take you on a little journey into your parenting past. Okay, everybody imagine a soldier. Now, some of you actually have soldiers in your life who have seen combat. Both of my sisters actually served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. They saw violence, blood. My sister, Molly, she was a nurse on the front lines. There was a nursing magazine that they took a picture of her while she was serving a bloody soldier on the table. They took a picture, and she ended up on the cover of this nursing magazine. And so but I can only imagine this stuff through pictures in the movies. So now this soldier, take your imagination here, is seeing combat and seeing violence. And now this soldier's coming back home, and this soldier has PTSD. You with me so far with this vision? You're just imagining, right?
Yes.
Some people don't have to imagine
Many
this.
of us can understand.
But because of movies nowadays, many of us can't imagine this. And so now this soldier is now, walking around a very loud amusement park where there's lots of noises. The soldier's only being back for like a week or so. And maybe the soldier has children, and the children are loud, obnoxious. Does this soldier, let's just imagine a man, is this soldier, based on this story I'm telling you, do you think the soldier is enjoying the amusement park, all the loud noises, the bangs, the pops, the annoying children? Or do you think the shoulder might be struggling a little bit?
Oh, 100%. Let's be honest. Does anybody enjoy that? Gosh, I can't stand those loud amusement parks. Waiting in lines, people crying, fights over here. Like, this is miserable.
I know. Oh, dude.
But
y'all
no,
think,
I
can't
imagine there'd be some PTSD.
Right? You're a young parent. I can't wait till I take my kids to Disney World. It's going to be this. And you go there like, oh, my gosh, I'm hot. This is expensive. Okay, please continue. Yeah. Right. Why do you think the soldier might be struggling?
So, yeah, I think because, obviously your life has been altered with what you do, and you have certain knowledge and memories that can be triggered with loud noises or people walking around, not understanding that what you were doing gave them their freedom here. And so now you look down upon these people. I mean, you're constantly in your head, and it could be not fun for anyone with that.
And let's imagine now that at the amusement park, the soldier is walking past somebody and has like an anti-American t-shirt on or an anti-war t-shirt on, or is driving by a little protest on the war, right? So we all want control. It's just some people want it more than others. And in this made-up fictional tale, let's just assume that this soldier wants the control more than others because he is agitated. His past has affected his present, and he really would prefer a more harmonious, peaceful place so that he can heal from the trauma and the post-traumatic stress disorder and the stress that he occurred. You with me so far? Okay, now let's imagine two more.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Let's imagine two more, okay? I have in my VIP membership, which is just absolutely an incredible, life-changing experience. I talked with two men were talking a lot in the membership yesterday. And one of them was this amazing lawyer. And the lawyer was saying, I'm a control freak. I like control. Just really vibing with this dad. The dad was talking about how much he's growing, how much he's changing, but he said, I need more tools because I like control. Now, imagine being a very successful lawyer and, wouldn't it makes sense that this lawyer liked control. Imagine another character here. Another parent who was talking a lot in the membership is a dentist. Now, imagine being a dentist. Dentists are very probably detail-oriented people. They like hygiene. Yeah. They like oral hygiene. Can you imagine being a parent and you're a dentist and you have 5 kids who don't want to brush their teeth and who want to eat sugar? Can you see how this would be hard? Can you imagine being a lawyer and you have a child or a teenager who is kind of breaking the law or getting in trouble at school? Can you see how that would be hard for these, because you're a rule follower maybe? So
yes. The question I have though is, what's hard for me to grasp is some of these examples we want to control, but we can't. So let's use the amusement park. We can't control everybody at the amusement park, right? It's not possible. So therefore, are you saying we need to control ourselves and our thoughts? But then I go to the next example of like the sugary kids eating all the sugar and the dentist. Like I can somewhat control that because we know it's good for them. So I'm just wondering where you're going with this. And
I'm
is
going
it
somewhere.
more control from an internal perspective? I
Hang
know you
with
are.
me.
Or is it like, no, I want to control these kids because I know what's best for them, and this is going to be better for them to go to bed on time.
So now we have 3 stories to imagine. Okay, we have the PTS soldier walking to the amusement park. Okay, we have a dentist with his kids. We have a lawyer with his kids. And now let's imagine all 3 of them are reacting.
Okay.
They're reacting, not responding. The dentist and the lawyer. The lawyer's responding with a lot of yelling in the house. He snaps at his kids. He gets sharp.
Okay.
He threatens. He does quick punishments. He makes quick decisions for them. He's
the judge, the jury, and the, what is it? What's the saying? Judge,
executioner.
Jury,
yes.
Something else.
Executioner.
Right.
That's exactly what this dad is struggling with. Judge, jury, executioner. And that actually makes sense.
Okay.
That this man would struggle with those things, doesn't it? Now, here's what the dentist. The dentist, very much into control, has employees, has a very successful dental firm, and dental place, and just like any good dentist,
dental practice,
the office is full of dental practice. Just like any good dentist, I'm sure, I've never been, his office is probably very orderly, very neat, very emotionally stable, right?
Sure.
And so now the dentist is now reacting in his home with all these kids. He's getting snarky.
Right.
He's snapping. He's getting avoidant. He's leaving his wife to just do the parenting, to do the emotional connecting. He gets quiet and then he explodes.
He's buying no sugary snacks in the house.
So I asked these men, tell me about your childhood. And the lawyer says, well, I grew up and my mother was very aggressive with me. And there was a lot of guilt and shame that I had to deal with. And he goes on to tell a story, which you can imagine what the story is. It's a story of probably academia. It's a story of success. It's a story about trying to get control in his life because he didn't feel very controlled around his own mother. You with me?
I'm with you.
I asked the dentist, tell me about control. Where does it come from? He says, I don't know. I was like, that's not a good answer. Tell me, what happened in your past that led you to want to have this feeling of control? And he shared a couple details. But as he was talking with me, I think the light bulbs were coming on because he was finding out that for him, he feels more at peace when things are in an orderly, controlled place.
Yeah, I think we all
feels very
do.
Uncomfortable with chaos, right?
Of course.
We all do.
That's why people clean when they're upset, because they can immediately change something right then and get satisfaction by taking something messy and making it clean again.
So doesn't it make sense that we all want control? It's just that some of us want it more than others. What do you think about that?
No, I think you're onto something. When the reality is, I think the dentist should be cool with his kids eating as much sugar as he wants, because let's be real, he could bring him into the chair anytime he wants, give him fake teeth all day long, and they'll be just fine. But
I told him, man, I was like, hey, it must be hard being a dentist, Dad, because I know what you don't want to do. You don't want to screw up your kids the way Willy Wonka's dad screwed up him. Like, you don't want to be that dad from the Johnny Depp version where you're so weird about hygiene that your kids end up owning a chocolate factory because they're so traumatized,
exactly
right? I was happy he laughed at that joke.
That's good. Yeah, and then back to, the person in the military with the loud noises. I mean, again, there's something. It's weird because on extraterrestrial level, I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for. Not atmospheric, astronomical level. Okay, so like stars. There's so much chaos in this, even just in the Milky Way, right? And then you've got this. We're trying to bring order to everything, or an understanding to everything. Okay, well, how did this chaos begin? You have this Big Bang, and some people believe that aspect, or you have this creator. Some people believe that aspect. But I think no matter what, there's there's always a sense of, hey, we have to figure this out. We've got to calm things down. And that's why a lot of people look to nature, because nature has its own sense of like control. When it's out of balance, something will move in and bring it back to equilibrium. From a meteorological perspective, like when the planet's out of balance all the time, right? You've got the cold air freezing at the poles. You got the warm air baking the equatorial region. And that's why we have these big weather systems, right? So it's like in the summer, you have these major hurricanes bringing all this heat and this warmth from the equatorial regions and moving it north to try to bring balance to this chaotic world. And then same with the poles. You have these frigid snowstorms and these cold air masses that try to move south to bring the cold air south, because ultimately the planet wants to be uniform.
Wow.
So it's interesting from a parenting perspective, because we just want things. It seems like it's easier when things are in control.
Yes, orderly. So, gosh, that was such an articulate way. So how do we, just like the planet does, how do we bring order into chaos in our own minds? Let me show you how to do that right now, because I've got 3 tips for you on how to become a peaceful, connected parent. And forcing your kids to be peaceful is not going to work. That's not one of my top 3 things. Yelling at your kids to calm down. That's not one of the top 3. Here's what I want to tell you. And as you listen to this, think of these 3 characters and think of yourself, because think of your prequel. Think of the soldier at the amusement park. Think of the dentist. Think of the lawyer. Here's something that I found, okay? Our children do not cause our triggers. They reveal them so that we can heal them. Let me say it again. Our children do not cause our triggers. They reveal them so we can heal them.
Yeah, that's deep. And we'll only heal them if we can figure that out. Because some could say, well, I was a fine person when my kids were 2 and 3. Everything was good. And then they went off the deep end. So then I went off the deep end. This is all their fault.
Exactly. Right. So instead of blaming your kids for your moods, instead of blaming your kids or your spouse for your unhappiness, instead of blaming your kids for why you yell or you're so chaotic, I want you just to go on this journey in your mind right now and think about what this means for you, because I'm going to try to explain it to you. Our children do not cause our triggers. They reveal them so we can heal them. So it's not the amusement park that is it's not the amusement park that is triggering the soldier. It's not the children who are triggering the dentist or the lawyer. It's something else, and it's deeper. Here's what this means, here's what I want the soldier to do. I want the soldier to say, gosh, I'm really triggered right now. Well, why? Well, because, this reminds me of something. What does it remind you of? And this is all happening inside their own mind. It reminds me of just what I went through 2 weeks ago, the chaos, the pain, and I'm scared. What are you scared of? I'm scared that I'm not safe. What do you mean? You're at an amusement park.
Right.
This is a place of happiness. Cotton candy. Children. Well, you know what? The sound that I just heard. It reminds me of the sounds that I just heard 2 weeks ago. This screaming kid, that reminds me of my comrade who was screaming as he got shot. It reminds me. It makes me feel like I'm not safe. But you are safe. I don't feel safe. But you are safe. This is an amusement park. If you're a dentist and you like control and order and hygiene, and you have unruly kids, here's what you say to yourself. You know what? That kid is not triggering me. They're helping me to see the work I need to do. This kid is acting like a normal 10-year-old right now. He doesn't want to obey. That's okay. I don't need to control this kid. I can be calm and loving right now, even though it's chaotic. But I like control. That's okay if you like control. But you're not in control.
Right.
Right, but I feel uncomfortable because I want this kid to stop doing this. Of course you want this kid to stop doing this, but you can still be comfortable even though it's uncomfortable. But that's hard to do. But why? You can do it. You're safe. You're an adult. You do not have to join the circus just because it comes to town. You can still be loving and calm even though your child is not. I don't know how to do that. Yes, you do how to do that. because you're a dentist. You do that every day at work. Every day at work, you deal with scared people who are scared to open their mouth and let you touch their teeth. You do it. You can do it. Let's say you're a lawyer and you've got a kid who is breaking the rules. You say to yourself, I can do this. I can be a loving, connected, calm parent, even though my kid is breaking rules. You say, you know what? I've got to parent the child I have, not the child I was. I was always a rule follower. I like following the rules. I like working hard. I'm a lawyer. But you know what? I don't have to solve my kids' problems. I can be gentle. I can be calm. Because I am this way in the courtroom. I am this way with my clients. I feel very uncomfortable being around the chaos. But you know what? I'm not going to let the chaos control me or my mind. I'm going to realize that, hey, maybe something happened to me when I was a kid. And when that happened to me, it helped me to find order and comfortability in my home life and in my control. But I don't need that anymore. I'm safe. What do you think about these stories?
I think, have you ever seen those commercials? They're pretty popular, State Farm commercials right now. I think Jimmy Kimmel's in one and Ludacris is in another, where some chaos is happening and they say, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And then one of these actors pops up like, hey, I'm here to help you. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, we need that in these moments of Sean Don, right? It's these questions you are placing on us. I wish I could ask myself those questions during the heat of whatever's happening. Some of these folks, like the military person example, could be going through a panic attack. And so it's hard for us to ask these questions in the moment. But what you're saying is so true. And I think every moment and every day, a lot of us need to stop and do this internal work on anything. You could be at a red light, someone flips you off, boom, take a second, right? We react too quickly. And what you're saying is take a breath, and all this is happening instantaneously. And I wish I had you all through big moments in my life where you could pop up and remind me of this, because this is really, really wise. It's like the old fairy tale of the devil on one shoulder, the angel on the other, talking, and it's happening in your head. And
I like the term.
A lot of us have this.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Prequel. Yeah, you're right. Like looking at our history.
Do you have a story from your prequel that you ever look at? While you think, I'll go. Like for me, my mother was a very loving mom, great mom, sacrificed so much for us, and the kids gave us such a good life. But just like a lot of women, she struggled with aggression and snappiness and harsh words and yelling. So I have a sensitivity to that now as a man. So some things what I do is if I feel like my wife or one of my children or even somebody else, but it's normally inside the family, is yelling at me or being harsh with me, I'll say to myself, okay, I'm okay. I'm okay. My wife is not my mom. I'm safe. I can handle this. I'm a grown man now. I'm not a scared child. I'm not a scared child anymore. I don't need to run away. I don't need to freak out. I felt powerless around my mom, but I'm safe now, and I'm powerful. I'm powerful now. I don't need to let that affect me, or I didn't need to take that so personally. See how what I'm doing for me, that's how I talk about my prequel in my everyday life in an area that's hard for me. Do you got a story like that about how you might think about your prequel?
Well, my story, it's not as much as going back to my childhood. I love my childhood, and there's a lot of stuff that I use, from that in my parenting now. But there was this moment 2 weeks ago where my wife was out of town, maybe 3 weeks ago, and she was on a girls' trip, and I had the kids all to myself. And think of your standard, family. The wife is the calm, nurturing, loving one, and the dad is more, let's say, disciplinary. Disciplinary.
Good cop, bad cop. Sure. Yeah.
But obviously is loving as well. But it's here are the rules, and let's clean this house. Time to clean, right? I guess more of the control side. Well, she was gone, and so I had to play both parents. And we were on this camping trip. Took them out. We were on an island. Took our little boat to this island. Popped up a campsite.
Ooh,
had
I
a
saw
great
that on
time
your
to
Instagram.
swim, and I had all. had all the kids to myself, and I was like, all right, I'm doing this. We're having fun, we're camping, we're making memories.
Keeping
and then
them
got
alive.
time where it was sunset. Keeping them alive. That's all I got to do. Keep them alive. And my oldest son, have you ever had that feeling where you feel like lost and scared, and all you want to do is go to what you know is safe, and that's home, right? And he was like, I feel lost. I feel scared. I know him, and he had a moment where he was really upset. He started crying. He's like, I just want to go home. It was getting dark. I couldn't drive the boat. It was too late. And I was like, man, I really should let's just go. He's having a hard time. Let's get back to it. He's like, he even says, I just want the comfort of my bed. I'm scared. I feel lost. Mom's not here. I just want to go home,
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
like, okay. And like, it was like that moment where I was like, okay, I have to be the comforting, gentle parent right now instead of saying, suck it up, dude. We're out here. It took me so much work to do all this. We're staying. Get over it, right? Like a lot of parents could do that.
Wow.
Like, what are you crying about? We're safe. You're with me. Your brother, sister are here. We got a tent. It's no big deal. There's no animals on this little island. But I was like, no, dude. Like, this is the time where you need to be mom, right? And I was like, and I just went up to him. I gave him the biggest hug. I'm like, listen, I'm so sorry. I know you're having a hard time. I've gotten there too. I know that feeling you're feeling. I kind of feel it right now too. But we're all together. We're going to sleep in this tent together. We're going to have a great time. And we're going to go on the rope swing tomorrow. And I was like, and this was the moment where tech saved me. I was like, hey, why don't you just take the phone, go sit in there, calm down, watch a little show. He got over it within like 20 minutes, which was great. But like, it was that moment where I had to be the more motherly figure. And it really helped out. But you came into my head a lot in that time.
How beautiful that story was.
I mean, like, what would Sean
the first
do
thing
right
that
here?
sounds like so level 10 beautiful to me is that your son would actually articulate that. You and your wife have trained your son how to talk like that. Like if I was a 10-year-old son, I would have been acting out, throwing rocks. I would have been having a temper tantrum. I would have been bullying and playing with fire. I would have been. You trained your son to be in touch with his feelings and to open up to his dad about his fight, flight, or freeze. He's in a kind of trauma response, and you have trained your son to talk like that. That's incredible. Good job.
Yeah, it was a cool moment. It was a moment I won't forget. And I told my wife about it. I was like, he had a freak out, but we handled it. But I thought it'd be good for this story or for this podcast because
oh my gosh.
I had to do everything with my own self-talk. I had to be like, A, how am I going to handle this? B, don't react. Just be tender right now.
Yeah.
And I kind of went with that route.
I want to talk about how you handled that, but I'm still struck at your son's emotional intelligence, Jordan.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the podcast we just did on the movie Wonder. I think the biggest takeaway that I had from that movie is what we talked about. Go listen to that episode if you haven't yet. Is the beauty of the movie Wonder is in all the prequel. It's in all the parenting the kids did before the movie started. Those kids were incredible because of the parents. And that's like the story, that's like what stands up to me. Like the parenting you and your wife, Danny, have been doing for all these years led to that moment. It's almost like, wow, man, I'm just shocked at that amazing story.
Thanks,
and then,
dude.
I guess. And I love how you stepped into
I didn't
that,
look at it that way, but thanks.
nurturing, like, go tell her that I said that too, man. I'd love to just tell her I said hi and thinking about her, just praising her on this podcast. But I know she's a big listener, so hello. Hey, Danny. Much love, love you, and just to hear you tell that, how you kind of, you're right, because I think that's what I might have been tempted to do too, like suck it up, especially to a boy, and like suck it up, son,
right?
Like your sisters aren't whining.
Remember the podcast we did, right? Yeah, stop it, dude. Come on, grow up. You're 10 now. Like really, you're crying, but remember. There was this guy, your friend, I think he's a firefighter or something, and he's like very burly, and you saw him sitting with his 7 or 10-year-old in his arms, like the gentle dad. And Mike. That's what reminded me of that moment, that person that we talked about. It's like how to be that.
Yeah. You know what? Something I've kind of really happy about. I have there's a mega famous MMA fighter named Uriah Faber. and he lives in my
Oh, I
city.
remember you're the California Kid. I used to love him.
He's mega famous. He's in the UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship Hall of Fame. And I just discovered that he lives in my city. Yeah. Our kids are now going to the same school.
He's from
Sacramento. And I saw him at a school event.
Oh, no way.
I heard about him because
that's hilarious.
He's very well known. He owns a UFC gym here. And I looked up his page, and I walked past him once, and I was like, oh, I think that's Uriah Faber. And then I noticed that he follows me. And I was like, wow, what an honor, man. So cool. He's been watching my videos.
Cool.
So I've been
Dude, he was like when UFC was just getting popular. He was good.
Yeah, he's very good. But then here's what I've noticed. I've noticed that over the last 6 months, a lot of famous UFC fighters have been following my page. Isn't that interesting? These guys that are
talk
all
about like hardcore.
Up. So this is like, you know what? This is what's happening with some men in our society. We have these ultra alpha male men. Some make a living on violence. You know, SWAT, first responders, UFC. Like they're in touch with their violent masculinity, aggression, and they've learned how to control it. They've learned how to manage it and use it for good. And you're one of these men, man. You're one of these men, but are also now really learning about like how you can be a good, strong, masculine man by being on an island on a boat and comforting and nurturing a 10-year-old boy who is scared. I'm bursting with happiness right now.
I mean, basically, it's a reflection of what you've been teaching, man, of like how it could really work, and I think it's working for a lot of people who are listening to this podcast and follow your work, and you probably see it so much in you know, with your clients in the club and talking to them all the time, and soon enough, hopefully, these characters that you brought to us, these stories from the parenting club that you just had, that the lawyer and the dentist, I bet it works on them too, which is so cool.
I think that this is just I think that for sure it's strong to say that we are like a new generation of American men. I can't speak of any other culture or any other country because I do know that there is a lot of amazing, strong men who have existed over the thousands of years who are also been tender. Like, this is not like a new thing. Like, we're not talking about some new thing that came out of California here. Like, everything you've ever heard me say out of my mouth is not new. It is ancient. That is a fact. This is nothing is new here. This is not new wave modern psychology. There have been strong parents who are also nurturing and gentle since the beginning of time. Do you agree with me?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I was just at church last weekend. I was out of town, so the weekend before, and it was all about kind of the man's man. And they were really talking about, like, Jesus, and they brought all these perspectives of how, like, he was a very manly figure, but not like you would think, like David versus the Goliath. You got David, the battle guy. Like, you had this soft, gentle Jesus who taught so much wisdom that people were like, wow, he's like the dude's dude, you know? You didn't have to use force. Right. And, you know, thinking of these UFC fighters, like, makes me think of, like, the old, you know, karate movies where it's like, hey, you're learning to fight, Mr. Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi back in the day, but it's not about fighting. It's about internal work and respecting the idea of martial arts so that if you need it, you can use it, but you ultimately want to do everything you can to avoid it. Yeah. And so we're doing that, but in the parenting world.
Yeah. Yeah, man, like if you were to respond to your son that day on that island with that harshness, like, hey, suck it up, man. You think your sister's not whining? You want to be a sissy?
Right.
Why is your your twin sister is not complaining? Like, that would probably be an example of you living in the past or in some traumatic event of the past. You grew up like that's it. Like, that was just such amazing parenting. So just think back to your prequels, and let's move on because I wanted to spend the longest time on number one, but I'm ready for 2 more points. So here we are. You ready? Okay, here we are. And they're actually all connected to number one. How to be a calm, loving, connected parent is do the inner work so that your past is not your parenting present. Number 2, train your self-talk and set up an accountability system.
And who's that accountability system with?
Okay. let me explain, is that here's what I found is that let's just keep asking these three men. One is fictional, the military soldier at the amusement park, and then we have a dentist and a lawyer. Okay, so one of the ways I help my clients, in whether it be through one-on-one sessions or through membership, also ask them, hey, tell me the thoughts that are running through your head when you're in these triggered moments. And then they'll say to me, I don't know, I'm just pissed. I was like, okay, that's not the answer. Deeper, what type of thoughts are you having? Before I tell you what they are, take a guess. What do you think a dentist and a lawyer would be thinking in the heat of these chaotic moments with a really annoying 12-year-old or a really whiny 9-year-old or a defiant 14-year-old? What type of thoughts?
Oh, man, if I just had some duct tape right now, I could just duct tape your mouth shut and you could stop yelling and stop crying.
Yep, I think
you know what?
I think you were trying to be funny, but yes, that is a very
no.
thought.
I was actually
that's a legit
I've said
thought
that to my kids before. I'm like, dude, I got duct tape.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I think that could be one. Or
do not judge Jordan. If you're judging Jordan right now, then that's not cool. Because you know, if I were to ask you,
no, we've all had.
Yeah. This is like what I do. Like
thoughts.
this is how you change. You have to get in touch with these, dark thoughts and these untruthful, lying, deceptive, horrible thoughts that are guiding your reactions. What else? What do you think is a common thing that a lawyer and a doctor would say?
Yeah, I don't know. If you could just, if I could just show you what life would be like if you didn't listen to me, I'll bring you down to the bridge, to jail and show you what these guys have done, and kind of you're on that path, okay? So like, if you could just listen to what I'm saying, then everything would be fine. Some people could think, dark thoughts, like I'm just gonna lock you in your room and lock the door, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
every
some
dark
people's
thought
thoughts
that you
get
can
really
imagine,
dark,
I've heard.
Yeah,
because they do. They get really dark. So I have my clients tell me them, or even type them in the group chat.
Wow.
So that, and they do. They just say it out loud in the membership or on one. They'll tell me what they are because we all have them. So some common thoughts that somebody like a doctor, dentist, lawyer would say, or even would be something like, gosh, this kid's so disrespectful. I need to teach them how to be respectful.
Right.
I can't let them get away with this, right? I can't just. I need to show them. Or here's a common one: if this kid worked, it says something like this: like, if this kid was raised by my parent, they would never be allowed to get away with this. Like, it's kind of like that.
That makes sense.
Like, there's no way I would ever talk to my parents this way. Or they would often label a kid. This kid's so selfish, such a loser. This kid's so annoying. I hate being around this kid. There's nothing I can do.
I wish this kid wasn't even mine right now. Why am I even a parent?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm the worst parent. I should have never had kids.
Right.
And then if you're a parent who struggles with conflict, or you struggle with avoidance, or screen time, or withdrawing, then you might have thoughts like, "There's nothing I can do here. I have no power." You might blame your co-parent for the kid's behavior. My kid is this way because of my spouse, right?
Okay.
You blame other people, or you just like talk yourself out of stepping into the conflict because you're like, I can't, if I do anything, it's going to make it worse. See, that this is all unhelpful self-talk. So when I say train your self-talk, it goes back to what I was saying about 10 minutes ago. Like, how do you speak to yourself in a way to get yourself ready to step into the conflict? So you respond and don't react. So you respond and don't react. So you respond and don't react. So when how do you do that inner work? So you respond and don't react. And when you do respond, what are you teaching your children? When you do respond, what are you teaching? So here's like what I mean by set up an accountability system. It's like, hey, we all need people in our lives because we're all going to go through like these dark seasons. And whether it would be best friends or your own, it could be your own spouse or it could be your therapist. How do we check in and say, hey, I'm just really in a dark spot right now. I don't know. I'm just like, honey, I'm just really, my mind is in a dark spot with these kids. Can you help me out? Or what do you think? How do we get through this? or you could say to your buddies, yeah, I don't know, guys, I'm just really dealing with resentment. My teenager's just like bringing out the worst in me. Like, I just need to get it off my chest. Can we just talk about this? Can I just vent to you?
Yeah, that's
or
good.
you could say to your therapist,
and
go ahead, you go.
I was going to say, a couple things that I've done just to kind of sharing in this therapy session is, there'll be times where I'm snippy or snappy, right? Like I'm on edge. And it's funny because I know it. And I was always told, like, hey, you are not your thoughts. So let's just think about this for a second. Like, our thoughts come from our mind, but our mind is like ancient. And sometimes our mind is set up on fear, and it's set up on like surviving. And it's like the same mind that was used thousands and thousands of years ago. So there's this idea that like your thoughts are like sometimes in you, and it always looks at the worst to try to keep you alive. And so sometimes I was told, hey, look at your thoughts as like a movie screen in your mind and know that it's not you and let it pass, right? This dark thought is coming. Okay, you see it. You realize it's not you. Let it pass. Well, what is you? Well, how you react is you. Okay, so I need to take this thing that's happening in my mind. So when I'm snippy or snappy at my family because I'm lack of sleep, I have low blood sugar, I'm hungry, I'm just annoyed, right? We've had those times where it's just like everybody's so dang annoying, right? Now, gosh, these kids are annoying the heck out of me. The other person in my household can sense that, and I'll even say like, hey, just so you know, like I'm, for some reason, I'm just not all there, and I don't have that time to take a breath. So then the other spouse will step and like, okay, I'll handle it, which is great if you have that ability in your household. Some of us don't. Some of us are single parents, and we don't have that, and so we just have to figure out a way to maybe relay that to our kids so they can understand too. Yeah.
Incredible teaching, man. Incredible teaching you just gave all of us. That visualization of letting these thoughts pass. So when I say train your self-talk and set up a system of accountability, I'm talking about help. Yeah. Like train your mind where you want to be, and then get some good people in your life to check in with you, to help you with this, to help you make sure that you're thinking about the thoughts that you want to think about, because our thoughts create our reality. That can be hard, though,
'cause some of us don't want to share that stuff. It's private. We don't want them to know that we're vulnerable.
Well, the reason why you and I are good at sharing our feelings with each other is because we had each other as kids. We were doing this years ago. And our relationship and our sharing, as when we were, you're a teenager and I was in my early 20s, we pushed ourselves to be real and to share with each other and to be deep. And now, because of that, it's easier for us to share our feelings with each other now and with other men. So it is, if this goes back to what this whole freaking episode is about. If you're having a hard time sharing your feelings in your present, it has to do with your prequel. So are you going to let your prequel, where you didn't have anyone to feel, you didn't have a culture around you of sharing feelings or accountability or help or community or intimacy, are you going to let that make you a parent in the present where you do not do that? Or are you going to change so that your sequel is better than your prequel? That rhymes.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, too. We should make a shirt about that. Is your sequel your prequel?
I've been thinking about how to make some swag and some merch. That's deep.
Dude, we gotta make some swag. A hat. Don't make your sequel your prequel.
That could be it, man. I've been thinking about something. Tell me if you're listening to this podcast, please email me or use on social media and tell us what should be our swag, our slogan. All right. Okay, let's move into the last tip. All right, how to see, it's interesting, how to be a calm, loving, connected parent. And we're really not even, this whole episode is not even, we're not even using the words calm or connected or parent.
Right.
We're not talking, it's like those are the outcomes of the inner work, right? The calmness is the outcome of this inner turmoil of bringing like you said, bringing the earth, that section you had where you just nerded out on us. About the Earth's. I can't even try to mimic it. I'm so dumb. I can't even try to mimic
it. To bring everything in order. Because everything's out of order. It's got to
so the earth
bring it into
knows
order.
how to bring itself into harmony and into order when it gets chaotic. That's what we are trying to do.
Right.
Be like, that could be another catchphrase. Like, be like, it needs to be like the earth. Like, no, it's not as good. All right, let's move on.
Right.
All right, daily intentions is the third
good.
one. This really should come as no surprise. Daily intentions, it means, what are you going to do? You need to do something every day where you wake up and you set the tone for your day and your mind. Jordan, I'm going to tell you how I do it. You go first.
Make a vision board, bro. Put a vision board. You wake up and it says, you're awesome.
Yeah. Tell us. Yeah. What do you do to set your daily intentions about the man, the husband, the leader you want to be? What do you do?
Gosh, I don't do anything. I'm such a loser. There goes my self-talk. I used to be so good into waking up and be like, all right, I'm going to seize the day. Now I'm just like, I got to get out of bed, right? No, it's so important for us to think about this stuff, because if you don't think about it, you go back to your old routine. I'm just like waking up, got to get the coffee. Here we go again. It's only Tuesday. We got 4 more days of this SHIT before the weekend, right? Yep. Everything wants to bring you down. So I need to do better. I have a vision board. I don't look at it every day, but I try to think as positively as possible and look at things glass half full.
The soldier needs to wake up every day, and he needs to journal, self-talk, pray, meditate. He needs to tell himself, I am safe. I am safe.
Yes.
I'm safe. I'm not in danger. And loud noises are not guns, and I'm safe. The dentist needs to wake up every day and say, I am a flexible, cool, loving dad. My home is not the dentist office. My home is not a place of order and perfection and hygiene. My home, I am not the CEO that bosses people around. This is a loving home of imperfect children, and I am not a dentist in my home. I'm a loving, flexible, calm dad. The lawyer needs to wake up every day, look himself in the mirror, pray, meditate, and says, this is not a courtroom. These are not criminals. These people are my little children who are not like me. They may not be a lawyer. They may not care about the law or structure or control like I do. They are different than me, and that's okay. And it's fun having children who are imperfect, and I love them and they love me, and I'm going to be a calm, loving dad and not a lawyer in my home. The fireman needs to wake up every day and say, this is not a firehouse. My kids do not need to make their beds every day. They don't need to be perfect. They are allowed to, go there and roast marshmallows at the campfire and have fun. They're allowed to jump off rocks, and they are allowed to ride their bikes. And when they ride their bikes and they forget to wear their helmet, I'm not going to freak out, even though it's scary for me when I see my kid riding a bike without a helmet because of what I've seen in my prequels. I've seen a lot of stuff with kids and helmets, but you know what? When my kid forgets to ride their helmet, I'm going to respond and not going to react. And me, I'm going to wake up every day and I'm going to pray. I ask God, help me today. Help me be the man you want me to be, God. Help me to be a loving man, a kind man, a teacher. Help me to make great videos to help parents. Help me to keep a small, humble head, to not let all this social media get to my head. Help me to just be a family man first, and to put my wife first and my kids next, and help me just to be a light in my world so that everyone who sees me says, you know what? Sean is a man of God who just loves people. He's just fun to be around, and he's a man of charity and adventure. So God, help me to be that man today and to listen to your voice.
And doesn't that make life so much more fun anyway? Yeah, it makes life so much more fun anyway when you think about life like that.
Tell us more. What do we need to do to set our minds as we wrap up our episode? How do we set daily intentions? Tell me other things, Jordan. What else can we do?
I mean, I love listening to you, so I think, whether someone wants to, have a little thing of Sean Don in, I mean, I think immediately, starting off your day with something positive is so important. A lot of us want to tune in and kind of look at the news to see what the news is, but it's all so negative. So whether it's music you enjoy, a podcast you like listening to, positive, uplifting words, maybe just relaxing music of the ocean and sounds of birds, just something to make it feel more calm. because the reality is we like control because we like things to be calm and in order.
Yeah.
And with everything in disorder, that's a way to kind of get things started.
That's good.
Make your bed in the morning. Start off there.
That's really nice because I like what you said here is you may need to cut some things out of your life that are adding to the chaos. Maybe you need to cut out the news, cut out social media. Maybe you need to wake up a little earlier, just have a little alone time before your freaking kids wake up. What do you need to do to
That's right.
control your calendar, control your alone time, and so you can set your daily intentions? Jordan, I'm just so thankful that I get to do a podcast with a man who has these beautiful stories about being on an island with 3 children on a boat. And you inspire me, and I really could not do this podcast without you. I really didn't want to. It wouldn't be fun. And so I'm thankful for you and how you help me, and you're one of my people. And so thank you. That's what I'm thankful for.
Dude, thank you. I love you, man. I appreciate everything that you've done in my life. It's a lot. You're like a father/friend figure that, you know, a lot of people wish they had. I'm glad I have you. I'm thankful for your eye of favor. And I'm thankful for the California kid, this burly dude I used to watch years ago who would just dominate people in the ring. And now he's following you, wanting to be a great dad. And I can't wait to hear more as you kind of maybe run into him and see how that's happening. Because ultimately you're getting all these people who are burly and in the UFC world that are wanting to be these gentle giants and good parents. And it can be hard, especially when you are in that industry. So I'm thankful that you can touch all corners of people's professions, man. That's great.
We can all be loving, calm, connected parents. Do not let your past be your present. Do not let your prequel guide your sequel.